I have returned. Welcome, everybody. I am your host, Onii-chan. You're all my emotos, whether you like it or not. Ah, feeling good. Feeling good about that one. I mean, yeah, I turned a 12-minute video into an hour-long segment. That's okay. Those are just free watch hours, right? Nah, that's fine. Oh, so this next one is from somebody I really respect in the content creator world. This is JamesLee. He's been around forever. Like, if anybody here is old enough to have like hung out on old Newgrounds and remember like Tarboy and was it Hania? I think her name was Hania, who also did like music for it. It's such a good era. Such a good era on like internet animations. And he was part of it, his little animation style. He's got such a unique style to him. He knows what he's doing. This man is a one-man like cinema quality studio boy. Jesus, he understands all of my issues in life. Like, to those who don't know, I've been doing this for a long time, right? I've been editing. I've done everything from like Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects. I've done special effects. I've tried my hand at 3D work. I do mainly audio engineering now, of course, because that's my main thing. But I have tried and been in lots of parts of production when it comes to things like, like shows and whatnot. And I understand the struggle, especially when it comes to like the software side of things and whatnot. And he obviously understands that struggle too, and it makes me respect him. Anybody who has ever been an editor for anything, you know what it's like to be filled with pure rage and fury. I open Pro Tools and I want to die sometimes, but I refuse to move from Pro Tools because fuck Reaper. Okay, let's get on it. I'm excited.
I messed up.
God, his vocal styling's so cool.
I went full steam into production on this video,
Explosives.
and I still don't know how it's going to end. I'll just think of the ending later, I thought, and then I just started filming.
God, dude.
And in exactly 11 minutes and 21 seconds,
He puts so much effort into just minute to minute.
See that I got nothing. Every artist that I know has faced issues surrounding the management of their creative energy. Whether it's a lack of drive, they can't think of a good idea, or they make reckless choices early into a big project in the heat of their inspiration. If you're not aware of how you will feel at the various...
So, I'm wondering how difficult this is, all right? So he's got a very specific speaking style, and I want to know, like, if he ADRs a lot of his stuff, because I don't know. I feel like something like this, you might actually have to ADR it later. But he speaks a lot with his teeth showing, and that adds to his style he's got going on. And I would feel like you would really have to practice speaking with your like gums out like that. That to me feels like a skill that you have to put time into. And god damn it, just for that, just for the sake of adding like, because like he's got the glowing glasses, right? And I think it's such a complimentary piece to have his teeth also have that effect on them. God, he puts the work in. Look at his shirt. His shirt's also doing it. It's so good.
Stages of your project, and problems will inevitably surface down the line when you no longer have the creative juice to fix them. You'll be suffering in drudgerous work when you want to feel that creative spark.
I don't know about.
And then there's times where you need to be creative, but you just want to
can't.
YouTube video.
Yeah.
Some brainless monkey work.
Yeah, he gets it.
I think every artist struggles between inspiration and discipline. Whenever I've hit a major roadblock, it's almost always trying to summon the wrong virtue at the wrong time, or operating under the false belief that I could just be disciplined or inspired in
I run into this issue a lot. I've tried my hand at attempting to make it in content creation multiple times, and every time I've failed. Some have gotten further than others, and I think this is probably my worst one right now. But the word motivation itself just isn't enough to really do this and to really get in it and be what you need to be. You're your own production company. You're your own boss. You're your own editor. You're everything. You're a one-man studio, and you have to be able to understand all of it. And it's not just that on top of it, you also have to be an entertainer. You have to understand how your audience works, how to gather an audience, how to keep them like wanting more for you. You have to understand the marketing. There's marketing behind this. You have to know, like, get out on Twitter, get out in other places, get just get your name out there, and that itself is also a skill. You have to understand how algorithms work, how all these websites work individually. It's so much. It's so grating. And I know a lot of people have friends and a lot of people have talented people that surround them that can do a lot of stuff. Like my channel, I I can't draw. I'm trying to learn, but I can't draw at all. And I have my friend Popenti who does all of my art for me. And through the kindness of her heart, I've been able to excel because of like she did that. But everything else is at my own hand. I do all my own editing, I do my recordings, I do my own scripting. I even though my video edits now are simple, where I used to do complicated stuff, I used to be able to go in like Premiere Pro and After Effects and like whip up something. And then I stopped doing that for a few years because I hate video editing. But it's like doing this all yourself is hard. And I can't imagine for somebody like him where his productions are top tier. They're some of the best I think I've ever seen on the platform, and burnout for him must be immense. I just can't imagine it.
Definitely. I've gained some awareness over the years, even if I still mess up a little bit. I want to give you some pro tips that's helped me to get to this point. I get comments from people who want to know how I can do so much work without blowing my brains out. Through trial and error, some success, and screwing up a lot, I gradually built a system to see big projects through to completion.
I know I keep pausing it, but there's one thing I want to talk about. He says screwing up a lot. And when it comes to creative fields or when it comes to working or doing anything in general like this, I truly believe that your greatest lessons in life come from mistakes. Cause like when you just can do something, you don't often learn what a lot can go wrong, right? You know how something looks like you do a drawing or whatever and you think it's perfect, but if you don't see the mistakes, you don't learn from them. And over time, I've had to learn a lot of these mistakes. Like I fucked up with clients. I've had to deal with clients doing like my post production stuff, talking to them, and I had a period of my life where I had my head up my ass. I was younger. I thought I was, oh man, I'm so good at this. And handling clients was something I found to be bad at. I thought I knew better. I thought like, oh, you're just a client. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's not a way to handle them. And through those mistakes, I learned how to handle people now. And it's something that I feel is such a good skill to have. But everything else too, like editing, you go through editing and you find out, okay, how do I do this? No, it looks like shit. I want to do it right. And through the mistakes, you find out everything not to do. But understanding what not to do in a situation is just as important, if not more important, than knowing what to do. At least that's my take on it. As I've grown older, I've realized that making mistakes is just it's a part of life and it's a part of learning. And you have to be able to take those mistakes and turn them into something better. It's like the whole like when life gives you lemon things, right? God, he's probably made 1,000 mistakes. Everybody does. It's just the human experience. And it's how you take these mistakes and move forward with them. God, I love this man. He's so good.
The mindset that I use as a kind of blueprint maybe you can use on your own projects. As a creative professional, there are two sides of you. One that is open, feeling, emotional, airy-fairy, arty-farty. It's the side that sees beauty in a lonely cloud, a haunting poem, or a humble Chinese man at a tired strip mall, quietly enjoying a slice of white bread. It's just so beautiful. And then
What is that?
productivity grindset you, who just wants to tick stuff off the list and eat, sleep, and grind. He's hustling.
Yeah,
He doesn't give a fuck about bread guy. Whenever I start a new creative task, I know that there's going to be two phases. In the first phase, I try to be open, receptive. I'm just playing around with stuff, trying to let things come naturally. But then I actually gotta make some shit. I need to narrow my field to a single point of focus to bring these ideas into reality. I see the process as a series of expansions and contractions, and I think this is analogous to all stages of art. Roughing versus refining, exploring versus defining, ideating versus implementing, divergent versus convergent.
I like how he's breaking this up into like easily digestible categories. I I have an issue. I've always had this issue, and I still have it, where I want instant gratification out of a lot of the stuff I do. and it causes me a lot of frustrations, especially when it comes to editing. Because right now, I'm terrible at video editing, and I think a lot of my hatred from it comes from not only just like the kind of activity that it is, but it's because I don't see myself being good at the things I want to do, and it's a struggle. And I'm like that with drawing too. I'm trying to draw, I'm learning to draw, and I keep hitting walls and things, and I want to like look at what I'm doing and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's good." And it's really hard to stop and be like, "This is better than the line I drew previous," right? "This is better than the box I drew the yesterday. This is better than that." But no, I a lot of the time just wanna see I just wanna see results, and that comes with my workflows with things. I wanna see results and things. But, yeah, I think, God, yeah, he's right. You have to break this stuff up. You can't just say everything's one lump sum, especially when it comes to creativity and production.
Thinking. So if I'm trying to come up with a video idea, I first got to build a well of inspiration, resources, feelings, and information, pulling things apart, diverging, and splitting into new pathways. The general vibe should be one of freedom and openness. Then once I have enough raw material, there's a shift in vibe. I'm honing in, refining, isolating the most important parts, trimming the fat, connecting things and compressing them together. I want to distill its essence, the core of my idea.
Okay.
In putting this video together, I came across another concept called the double diamond, which aims to really condense down the stages of design. As you progress through a project, the first half of each diamond represents increasingly expansive, divergent thinking, whereas the second half represents focused, convergent thinking towards a single point.
Okay.
It's a really elegant way of describing the process. But yeah, I also thought of it all.
I want to go back and look at that if that's okay. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I like the process.
So, God damn you. Here we go. So we have the problem, which would be like the content you want to create then, right? You have research, discover, explore, define, insight into the problem, scope down the focus, the problem definition. Okay. You have design, develop, test, deliver, listen, potential solutions that work and receive feedback, solution. This is, wow. Wow. I don't know. I don't ever, I guess you could call it a problem, right? You could call it something to solve. Where when you're trying to do content creation, especially maybe like with me when I'm writing my ASMR stuff, I have a really hard time coming up with concepts that, a new concepts because everything out there has been done, right? And especially when everybody wants me to just keep making yandere videos, there's only so many things I can have a yandere man do. And yeah, there's a big part of it is just maybe I'm approaching it wrong. Maybe my mindset isn't, it's too broken. It's too hard focused on things. Maybe breaking it up is the way to go. I would absolutely take his word for some stuff because obviously, look what he does. He's professional. He knows what he's doing, at least to an extent. But like this kind of thing helps you break that down. Develop and test, deliver, listen. That's one thing, especially with content creation, right? So let's say you make your production and you put it out there and you're trying to find who you are as a content creator, especially in your early days. We did this a lot when I worked for it was a big abridged series. I don't want to say who, but we would get together. We would try and figure out what do people want to see in that fandom, and we would put a lot of the research in, and like we would see like, okay, so we have this concept, and this is how we can go about it. But the developing, testing, design, and deliver and listen, right? And there's I really like my little avatar guy's covering, but he has solutions that work and receive feedback. Just that to me is so valuable. Just feedback in general from people. And I think with YouTube, there's a lot of issues where the people who give you direct feedback, like maybe every now and then you'll get a little comment on your video, they're saying, hey, this was this an issue. It's not a large enough sample group to make an entire decision on. But you look at your analytics and you can see like what works and what doesn't work in their system and how the algorithm works or how like YouTube goes and pushes you out there because it's that sort of like analytical feedback that a lot of us are going to make videos on. God, it's I don't know. I'm just ranting now. My brain is ticking, trying to think of think of things, and we're gonna continue.
Yes, but yeah, I also thought of it all by myself, and not to be a massive bitch about it, but I could come up with a
yeah, he's earned it.
better diagram.
angry pipeline.
If I'm starting a big project, there's a lot more on my mind. It's months of my time, income, my survival, so management of my creative energy becomes critical. When I follow my creative whims, they tend to branch, grow, they get more complicated over time. A milestone is a useful anchor that helps guide my focus to one simple, well-defined deliverable. I see the creative process as these diamond structures that sit between each milestone. By approaching each project task as two thinking phases, it can provide clues as to why I'm hitting certain problems. Writer's block, staring at the page, can't think of an idea. When I'm hitting my head against the wall, it's useful to remind myself that I can't form connections here if I haven't done enough branching out back there. Or maybe the task has become too complicated to focus, big moving parts, or I'm lost in the weeds. I can often solve this by adding additional milestones that help to keep me from branching out too wildly. Milestones can act as a kind of mental reset. If it's a big project, it feels good to thoroughly finish something. So I like to keep my tasks in well-contained, unfragmented batches. It helps my thinking across the project to stay.
Sorry, I'm watching this, just so fascinating.
So I've talked about this idea that creative tasks have these two thinking phases, but I like to think that the project as a whole is wrapped in a similar kind of metastructure. It's just intuitive, right? That in the early stages, your thinking is going to be more expansive, and then as you approach the deadline, you're going to increasingly need a narrowing focus. Remember when I said earlier that there are two yous? Well, I think it's valuable to be attuned and aware of what it feels like to be in each of these separate phases.
All right, so I want to talk about that. So this is one of those things where you get from people who are in the know, who are more experienced. And it's one of those things you can only learn from experience. I like he created his milestones, right? He had each individual aspect of production. And I don't know, I've never broken it down into further milestones. I've always even in like mini milestones for like, let's say when I'm making one of my videos, even though they're technically small, they have similar aspects to them. I have scripting, I have recording, I have editing, dialogue cleanup, sound design, Foley work, the final mix, the final delivery, making sure I'm compliant. Because I don't know if a lot of people know, when I mix my audios, I actually follow ATSC protocol, which is minus 24 LUFS with a -2 true peak. I try to follow ATSC for the idea that if you watch American television, a lot of my content will feel similar to you in how it's presented. And there's also the idea that, well, I set everything of mine to similar LUFS. So when you listen, you don't ever have to touch the volume knob from video to video. You can just kind of set things and forget it. And no, I'm sorry, I'm ranting now, but yeah, I never thought about taking each milestone and what I'm doing with it and breaking it up into the idea of smaller categories, and maybe instead of the thinking of tackling it as a whole, tackling what's before me instead. Because like when you're, I think the pyramid is the big pyramid. I think is a really good way to visualize it, because like you see it as something to cross, and bigger issues are going to provide more stress to you. They're going to be weighing on your mind more. But if you can just see the smaller picture maybe and think, okay, I'm going to do the concept, and the parts of these concepts are going to be like maybe research and like kind of develop things, see what I'm doing with it, play around with ideas, and maybe breaking these into smaller parts is the way to go. Because I stress a lot over what I do, even if it is small at the moment. I'm gonna have to watch this video again on my own just to think about it.
Whenever I forget that there are two me's, they inevitably end up screwing each other over. One is primarily creative, while the other is productive. And from the perspective of either one of them, even the world feels different. I need to plan around their individual strengths and weaknesses. I'm often surprised when in early production I forget to add a basic sound effect. Then in the final days when I get around to it, how stressful it is to have to make such a simple choice. I feel like my brain is dumber. It feels like I've lost sight of the bigger picture and I'm somehow going to make the wrong decision that screws the whole project up. I've made some real friggin' dumb choices, operating while high on inspiration, committing to ideas that I could never complete, or worse, not making the choice at all. I still don't have an ending to this video, all thanks to airy-fairy arty-farty me, who didn't plan his shit and now
I've had a lot of that too, where the creative side of me, I think, is stronger than the productive side of me. And I've had things in the past that I've tried organizing myself and going ahead, and I put a lot of creative like power and time into, and they didn't come to fruition because I didn't have the other side of me to drive as well. As silly as it may sound, my origins, like how I know all of my friends now, is I tried to make an abridged series of my own, and I gathered a lot of people. I did a lot of stuff. I did like learning how to write, learning how to do a lot of the technical aspects of like video editing back in like 20, 18, 17, some shit like that with the funny, a legit version of Premiere Pro that I received for free somehow. And my ambitions for what my skills were at the time were too big. And I also didn't have the drive to make the productivity work. I I like how he breaks this down into two people. Your creative side and your productive side. I I don't know. I feel like I conflate them at times too. Like to me, the productive side has to be creative, or the creative side has to be productive. Maybe that's also a wrong mindset. Maybe I do have to separate the ideas and then focus on one. But then he mentions like what is it? He'll kind of like forget one, and then they start like kicking the shit out of each other. Yeah, it's a balance. I think it's right in that kind of thing where it has to be a balance.
Captain Autismo can't focus when he wants to finish the fucking thing! I got exactly 4 minutes and 3 seconds. I need an ending, but there's no time. Well, there is a little bit. I'm gonna go browse Reddit.
Yeah, that's what I do.
This is the worst place to be. I think we've all been here. Your personal project mismanagement has depleted your creative energy. It's led you to distraction and
Do you not have a case on his phone?
This
Ain't nobody having that much fun on Reddit.
Take days, take weeks or months. Creative you and productivity you are nowhere to be seen. This is the third you, the lazy, stinky piece of shit.
Oh no, that is me.
Toxic cycle where overambition leads to high expectations, which leads to pressure and then avoidance. As the pressure builds, so too does the creeping sense of your avoidance, first bubbling to the surface, then heating to a simmer before it finally erupts into a raging boil. Oh,
His voice work is so good.
I sometimes get like this when I'm stressed out, dull, foggy, uncreative. It's usually when I've just finished a big project, or if it's bogged down and starting to drag.
This is okay. I want to talk about his setup real quick. For one, I dig the triple monitor setup. He's got his little stream deck there and his drawing pad and whatnot. But this is the desk of a real editor. If you walk into somebody's like studio and their little desk is like pristine, leave. This is the shit I expect to see on an editor's desk, man. Fucking beer, shit everywhere, tape, glasses just hanging about, cables mismanaged, just fuck it, right? That's a real editor. That's a man who doesn't have time for the little bits of nonsense. All right, I gotta get this shit out. Who gives a fuck? God damn, I feel this in my soul. My desk and stuff is like that too, where I used to be super obsessed with making sure everything was super cable managed, and I have all these little zip thingies that go around all my cables and make them look nice, and I have to make sure all my equipment on my desk is neat and orderly. But nah, my interface is just kind of laying here at a weird angle, I have my fader port sitting here in front of me, and it's like also at a weird angle. And it's all within convenience now instead of looking nice. That's the sign of a man who knows.
I've been in focus mode for too long, and I'm this vigilant, nervous husk of a man. Grind and focus isn't going to move me forward. I need to take a few steps back to see the bigger picture.
If you've ever met a sane video editor,
I want to be acting
like,
as a kind
run.
of funnel of emotion, culture, human sentiments, waiting for these intangible things floating around in the spooky ether to come to me through open awareness. But it's easy to get disconnected. I don't see these things when my body's been stuck in that tunnel vision, raw productivity mode. And staring at a blank page or sitting at my computer is the worst place to be. I gotta get out of my head and
That's
into the world, bouncing into
God
things, going
damn that transition.
movement, chaos.
Oh,
If creativity is connecting two things, then I need to find more things. I think the best answers come from unexpected experiences. This is what I consider to be the raw material for creating my art. If you're familiar with the cutout technique for creating song lyrics, I think that all of experience is kind of like that. There's material everywhere, just waiting for the right context. I saw that Chinese guy 10 years ago. He had a bag of bread and he was just eating one dry piece right there in the street.
Based.
Which was so idiosyncratic, and I've always wanted to use it in something. Wait a minute.
So I've worked with a lot of musical artists. I started doing audio stuff when I was 15 because I got a guitar when I was 12 and I became obsessed with it. And one of the pieces of advice I got was, well, record yourself playing guitar. And that's a good way to listen back and hear yourself, like how you can improve. But then the act of recording became my obsession. Of course, I was still obsessed with the guitar, but recording itself was. And I have met singers, I've met writers, I've met all aspects of production now when it comes to making music. And there's a lot of people out there that have writer's block or that can't like invest. And one of the things that I had learned early on about like, okay, how do I want to make something, right? I understand that I can just sit at home and write down in my notebook, but he's right. Getting out is such a good, inspiring thing to do. One of the best things I think I ever had happen where I used to work in with homeless shelters. I would go to like soup kitchens. I would help them clean. I would help people get fed and all that stuff. And part of doing that is I wanted to speak to people and listening to people who were homeless and have them kind of tell their story about how they got to where they were and hearing such a raw human experience, whether it was good or bad, was very eye-opening. And it made me want to write. It made me want to go home and play my guitar and express those feelings through what I was doing. And I would just stand there in my room with my amp and play for hours and hours, like just thinking about all the shit I did that day. I know I talk a lot about going like, hey, you want to do something, go out in your community and try and make it better. But I think that stands true for wanting to like help your creativity flourish. Because like art is mimicking the human experience, right? We're expressing ourselves through it. And if you have nothing to express, then you're not going to create anything great. At least, I don't know. I know it's more nuanced than that. There's a lot more going into the idea of art. But just finding, even if you go out and you see something so mundane or normal, but it invokes something in you to want to go home and be creative, then I think you've accomplished your goal, or you've grown as a person in that time to want to be able to do something. All right, rant over.
Need to end this video with a little bow that evokes the themes of convergence, a satisfying consolidation of all of these ideas, or some kind of superficial joke that uses underlying subtext to prove my process, and all of that somehow communicates
Vanessa,
the
welcome.
image of the Chinese man. Yes, that's good. A twist ending no one will ever suspect that such a preposterous throwaway gag will be the pivotal callback for the final culminating shot.
Oh, it is audio production.
Ruined it, didn't I? Ultimately, when When it comes to creativity, there are no guarantees, only mindsets, tools, surrendering to the process, and hoping that you get lucky.
Oh my god, he's gonna do it. Oh man, I thought he was gonna do the bread thing. Mindsets, tools, and hoping that you get lucky. And I hate to say that at least what I'm trying to do, getting lucky is probably a huge part of it, if not most of it to an extent. Because like there's so many people out there who have made it, who have become something because they were discovered. And that discoverability, I would say it was like the luck they were looking for to shoot up and who they were. And Vanessa, I think preparation meets opportunity. I think that's also true, right? Because yeah, there's luck, but I think that you have to build up for something for that luck to mean something meaningful. So like me doing audio engineering and meeting the people that I have where I've gone to a point to where it's like I have met the people who work in anime when it comes to audio production. I have been given opportunities, right, on that level. This, understanding what it's like doing like foreign dubbing and whatnot. And just because I met the right person doesn't mean I had the right skills at that time. And if you meet someone, you get lucky and you don't have the ability to provide, it means nothing. It's a culmination of everything. And then there's the mindset, but I don't know what mindset to even have. I don't have the ability to have a mindset. As like my mindset is very defeatist, and that defeatist mindset is what drives me. A lot of people get mad at me for saying this, but my if I could culminate like if I could put my feelings about production into like a phrase, it would be it can always be better. I don't ever feel anything I ever do is good enough. I always feel that there's a possibility that the things I could have done in that moment could have always been better. And that gives me the feeling that the ceiling is infinite and my ability to grow and become better and do better and learn will always be there. Eh, I know it isn't always true for every point of like everything in your life you do creative wise, because you have to come to the realization at parts that what you're doing is good enough, especially in a professional world. Because if you have the mindset of, oh God, it needs to be better in the professional world, you're never going to get anything done. And you have clients waiting on you. And if you tell a client that, oh, it could have been better, he's probably not going to hire you again. Um, I think a lot of this comes from the idea of self-respect as well. Because I try to tell people, especially who are learning like audio production, who are getting out there to charge money for people, is what is your time valued to you, especially with like what you're charging. And if you have the mindset of like, okay, I can understand this is good enough, especially when it meets the client's needs, the client's happy. I think you should also be able to kind of be happy about it depending on like what it is. Cause sometimes like there are productions that clients will ask for that are just fucking worse than you've ever seen in your life. They don't know what they're doing. They're new or they're too up their own ass to actually see from the production standpoint. And they're only seeing from the creative standpoint. Looking at you, Neil Breen. Yeah. Uh, I guess he's right. It is mindset in a way. You have to figure where you converge there. Something comes up, but like you're not ready for it when there's gonna yeah, okay. You don't have thoughts when I try at least naturally put myself out there, so don't like push myself too hard. I burn out and stress myself, but I don't sit there and rot either. Nah, sitting and rotting is awesome. You know what feels better than stressing over work? Sitting and rotting. VTubers. Sitting and rotting over VTubers is fucking awesome. It's my favorite.